the gifts. Swedish tradition holds that the youngest child passes out the Christmas presents. And for Christina, it's a perfect way to end the holiday. Christmas at the Valentino household is somewhat different from that of the Rudlands. The Valentinos are Native Americans, members of the Oneida Indian tribe, one of several dozen tribal groups in the northeastern part of the United States and southeastern Canada. The Valentinos believe that it's important to practice Indian traditions during the Christmas holiday season and at other times of the year, too. One of those traditions is the talking stick ceremony. 4 Valentinos are taking part: Francine, Cassandra, Karen, and Mrs. Valentino. The 2 other family members, Mrs. Valentino's husband and her 4-year-old daughter Felicia, are out doing some last-minute shopping. During the first part of the ceremony, called smudging, small pieces of a sage plant are burned and passed around. After everyone has been smudged, each Valentino discusses her feelings. And since it's Christmas, they talk about their feelings about the holiday. From a distance, the Valentino's Christmas tree looks like most others, but there are some interesting differences. First, most of the presents beneath it are to be given to neighbors, friends, and relatives. Giving generously to others, not receiving, is an important Oneida tradition. And if you look carefully, you'll see some special ornaments the Valentino children have placed on the tree. A medicine wheel, for example, shows that each person, whether white, yellow, black, or red, is part of the same family of all people. A dream catcher is another interesting ornament. It's said that bad dreams are caught in it, while good dreams are able to pass through. Later, when Mr. Valentino returns, he and Cassandra start making Indian fry bread, a family favorite to be served at this year's Christmas dinner. After the dough has been mixed, it will be set aside for several hours to rise. Mrs. Valentino has made the rest of the meal, including wild rice, an important Oneida food, and an Indian soup made of beans, hominy, and pieces of pork. Ham will also be served.
Hey, Dad, here's the dough.
All right.
The dough has risen by dinner time, so the bread is ready to be fried right on schedule.
Pick up some of the dough. You cut it off, okay? And you just flatten it out a little bit. Not too, not too much. Okay, flatten it out a little bit. And then we put it in the frying pan. Okay. Goes in here very carefully. Okay. Then we fry it until it gets brown on one side. Then you turn it over after it gets brown. It won't take long.
Okay.
You gotta be very careful because this is really hot grease.
The bread tastes great by itself, but it's even better with Mrs. Valentino's soup. The Valentinos combine their family's ancient Indian customs with the traditions of Christmas, and for them, that's the best possible way to celebrate the holiday. For the Kim family, Christmas Day is family reunion time. This year, 35 uncles, cousins, nephews, nieces, aunts, and other relatives have traveled up to several hundred miles to celebrate the holiday together. The Kim family comes from South Korea, a country that lies at the far eastern edge of Asia. Most have been here for many years, but they still practice many Korean customs. For example, visitors leave their shoes in the Kim's front hallway, and the family's Christmas tree is decorated with many traditional Korean ornaments. Miniature shoes like these, for example, were once pinned on the dresses of Korean women. A tiny ceremonial drum, another example, is a reminder of an important instrument played at Korean harvest festivals. All the Kims bring food to the celebration. Their Korean delicacies make for an especially tasty buffet. In fact, everybody seems to appear from nowhere as soon as all the food is placed on the table. Before the delicacies are eaten, however, a prayer is recited. After dinner, the family plays games. The first is called Watto. It's a pastime the men of the Kim family have enjoyed every Christmas for many years. Then some of the women start a game of Ute. To play, sticks are thrown into the air. Depending on how they land, the player gets to move the wooden markers to certain locations on the game board. In addition to games, music plays a big role in the Kim's Christmas celebration. And it's a good thing, too, because nobody gets a Christmas present until she or he plays a musical instrument or sings a song.
Used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor old
The nice thing about singing for your present at the Kim's Christmas reunion is that nobody is expected to perform perfectly.
I can't remember.
Getting up in front of all those people is the thing that counts. The Christmas tree in the Martinez household has been decorated in a very traditional style, with poinsettias, straw Christmas wreaths, and straw candy canes. As you can see, there are no presents beneath the tree. Instead, there's a nativity scene. Every year, the crib in the manger beneath the tree remains empty until midnight, December 24th. At the stroke of 12, when Christmas Eve becomes Christmas Day, the baby Jesus is placed in his crib. This and many other traditions practiced in the Martinez household come from Mexico, where Mr. Martinez's parents were born. Mrs. Martinez was also born in Mexico, although she's lived in the United States for about 20 years now. Many of the dishes prepared for the family's Christmas dinner, including turkey, are made from recipes handed down from generation to generation in Mrs. Martinez's family. Now she's passing them on to her children, Crystal and her little sister Allison. The recipe for the stuffing is an example. Pork roasts stuffed with prunes have also been served for many years at Martinez Christmas dinners. The roasts are dotted with olives and almonds, and then coated with orange juice mixed with chili powder. As soon as the meal has been put in the oven, aunts, uncles, and cousins begin to arrive. Christmas get-togethers are something else that have always been an important part of the Martinez holiday. And so have posadas. La Posada means the inn in Spanish, and it's a play sung about Joseph and Mary trying to find a place to stay in Bethlehem. Mr. and Mrs. Martinez play the innkeepers. The rest of the family sing for Joseph and Mary. At last, they find a place to stay, the manger, and are allowed to enter. Trying to break the piñata is the children's favorite Christmas activity. The small children go first. The older children are blindfolded. This year, the piñata is especially hard to break. So everybody needs a lot of encouragement to keep trying. It seems that Uncle Hector really wants to keep spirits high. Finally, Crystal is successful. And the mad dash is on for the oranges, peanuts, and candies. Christmas dinner starts with a toast with fruit juice. Then the feast begins. It's early Christmas morning, and Mrs. Teclaab works alone in her kitchen. Her husband is out on errands, and her 3 sons, Emmanuel on the left, Jonas in the middle, and Solomon, are upstairs looking at a book, practicing some new English words. The Teclaab boys do not help their mother in the kitchen or with any household chores, which is common in Ethiopia, the country in Eastern Africa where the Teclaab family comes from. In fact, they've been here only a few months, so this is their first Christmas in America. Like many other people from Ethiopia, Mrs. Teclaab and her family belong to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, whose members celebrate Christmas in early January, not in December. For Christmas dinner, she's making a real Ethiopian feast, a chopped fresh vegetable salad with lots of onions, which are commonly used in Ethiopian cooking, a chicken dish called dorowat, and kewat, a very hot, spicy beef dish. Everything will be served on injera, a large, flat sourdough bread that serves as plate, eating utensils, and food as well. Somewhat later, Mr. Teclaab returns with a family friend and her mother, who's visiting from Ethiopia. After Mrs. Teclaab greets them, she returns to the kitchen to make a special spicy coffee that's almost always served to guests in Ethiopian homes. While the beans turn deep brown, Mr. Teclaab shows some family pictures to the visitors. He tells them that before coming to the United States, the Teclaabs lived in a refugee camp, a place where people go when forced from their homes. They moved to the camp after a war broke out near their village, and the family stayed there for many years. In fact, none of his children had ever been outside the camp until they came to America.